So, a Discord member had actually asked the other day how to replace the tires and tubes on a wheel, and I've been meaning to make a video about this anyways, so I figured it was right about time. Let's start by going over the tools we're going to need. I would suggest having 2 tire irons, a 12mm wrench. If you have a cap with this kind of end, it's definitely going to come in clutch a little later on. WD-40, a rag, and of course a tire pump. So we're gonna start by taking off the cap and both of the nuts on the valve stem. Let out all the air in the tube. Now if you do have that valve stem cap, this is where we're gonna use that. Go ahead, flip it upside down and put it on the top of the valve stem. Go ahead and twist it until it locks in place. And once it locks in place, you're gonna go ahead and twist that thing off carefully because this is plastic. And that's gonna go ahead and remove our valve stem core. Now with all of the air out of the tire, go ahead and use your fingers to break the bead of the rubber tire, and be very careful when rubbing your hands along the tire because there is metal inside of it and it's very easy to get pricked by. Now on one of the ends you'll notice that there's a hook. Go ahead and put that between the wheel and the tire, hook the tire, and push forwards until the tire goes over the rim. And if you'd like to use your rag during this part of this, it will help prevent scratching the wheel. We're going to take both of our irons and do that process around the entire wheel. Once you get the tire actually loose enough, you can pull it off with your hands, but again, just be very careful not to get pricked by any of that metal. Now push that valve stem through the wheel and out the other side. Now, flip it over, take that iron underneath the tire, hook the rim on the other side, and push it forwards. Make sure you don't push this too hard because you could damage the wheel. And now you can just manhandle it off by pushing the tire off of the rim. Just be very careful that you're not pulling on the spokes because that can throw the truing of your wheel out of whack. Notice that I'm using my thumb on the top of the wheel and just balancing my fingers with the spokes. Now it's time to put some WD-40 on the rag and wipe it all around the circumference of the wheel. You're basically giving this rim a rim job. Now you're gonna pick one side that you want to start with and push the outer side of the tire into the rim. Now we're gonna install 1/2 of the tire onto the wheel. With half of our tire on the wheel, we're going to install our inner tube. The most important thing about installing the tube is that you line up the valve stem to the hole in the wheel. And also don't forget this little washer that goes on the valve stem on the inside of the wheel like I did. Install the rest of the tube into the tire. Now it's time to install the valve stem into the wheel to make sure everything stays in place properly. Install one of the valve stem nuts about 3/4 of the way down the valve. That way we can still get our air pump on it. Install our air pump and pump it 2.5 pumps. Loosen that nut to the top of the valve stem, still leaving it on. And now it's time to finally install this tire onto the wheel. And no, I wasn't the one that dented that rim. Now with your tire irons, go ahead and start working your way around. And as you can see, I'm using my fingers to help set the tire on the wheel. If you don't help set it every time, it's just gonna make this for a very annoying process. Everything's gonna be way too tight and extremely hard to install. So make sure you're getting a proper seat every time you pull this tire iron back. And once you get to the end, don't even try to get a tire iron in there, just push that thing down. You'll notice these little lines on the inner side of the tire, and this is actually how you balance the tire to the rim. So what I suggest doing is now go ahead and bounce the tire on the ground. Don't slam it. You're just trying to get it to sit real nice. As you can see, with just a few bounces, this is a lot more balanced, really a lot even on both sides. Now go ahead and install both of the nuts back onto your valve stem. Just to be safe, pump this tire up to 20 PSI. Go ahead and balance that one more time, making sure you got a good bead. And then one more time, pump it up to 30 psi. Don't forget your valve stem cap, and you are all set. And with that, you are all set. That's how you replace the tires and tubes on your moped wheels. I almost forgot, ride safe.